General, welcome to the event and thank you very much for being here. Can you provide us a little bit of a summary as to what your own roles and responsibilities are at the moment and also what's brought you here?
Yeah, first and foremost, this is a fantastic venue for myself as the 19th Air Force Commander. I'm responsible for almost 32,000 people, 1,400 aircraft, and all the flying training, almost all the flying training in the United States Air Force. And for me to be here in the international setting is absolutely crucial at this point in time, especially as we start to change some things in flying training both internationally and also inside within the United States. More specifically, with the TX coming on and the opportunities that presents ourselves, with the fifth generation capability that we're starting to generate and also to train in, these kind of venues are going to be absolutely vital as we go ahead and go forward. Because as we know, it's just such an uncertain environment in the world, both from a political aspect, from an international aspect, but also from a fiscal aspect. And candidly, the more that we can talk to each other, the more that we can collaborate will give us a heck of a lot better capability in the future. But more importantly, it also gives us the opportunity to go ahead and bounce ideas off of each other. So as we sit there and talk about training, flying training systems and changing those, everybody has a little bit different orthogonal view on how they've done it. So we're able to really tap into a lot of different aspects of training, types of training, and where they've succeeded, where they haven't. And from that perspective, this is very, very beneficial for all people that are involved.
You did mention yourself that this environment has a number of complexities for the modern aviator. How can this community really come together to provide the best opportunity for those men and women to tackle that situation?
Yeah, first and foremost, the world has changed a lot. I mean, it used to be the traditional air, land, and sea type of mentality that we perfected quite well, frankly. But now with space and cyber as domains in which we have to be able to operate in, which will be denied to certain extents, and how we have to react to that, and how do we change and train people to be prepared for that, it's not just about platforms. So as we truly look at 5 domains, and this is the 5th generation of airmen across the spectrum since World War I, prior to World War I, how do we train people who can fly, fight, and lead in these kind of environments that are a heck of a lot more complex, a lot more involved, and somewhat new, but this isn't something very strange to us. I mean, when the air domain first came online in 1911, it was so strange and new and everybody thought it'd be insurmountable. Same with space, same with cyber now, and we're seeing that they're not insurmountable, they're just different aspects to the military problem set that we have to be very agile, we have to be very adaptable, and we have to be prepared anything from ISIL and counterinsurgency type operations to a high-end, large-scale anti-access area denial type of environment.
You also said that when it comes to creating a strategy for this type of thing, there is a risk that focusing too much on the efficiencies can overshadow the actual effectiveness.
And that's a very good point too, because as we are so constrained, we're developing budgets now and strategies based upon fiscal restraints, as opposed to developing budgets and strategies based upon threats that used to be in the past. In that process of being so focused on budgets and fiscal constraints, we've had a tendency to focus on fiscal efficiency to the detriment of military combat effectiveness. And that's one of the things that we will try to balance, especially in the US Air Force, and with partners, especially when we're talking about the F-35 training with partners and also FMS members, of what is a more effective product. In the Air Force, for instance, as we go through getting the TX online, we're considering going to a generalized pilot training format that we have done in the past that was very successful in order to overcome some strategic restrictions that we had when we went into specialized pilot training. It costs a little bit more, but candidly, you have a more effective product at the end. So as we sit and we talk about that, there are other things that we can do too, such as where do I put introductory fighter fundamental squadrons? Right now we have them at undergraduate pilot training bases in which they're not in the environment. They don't eat, sleep, and drink fighter or understanding combat air forces in a fighter environment. If we bring the TX online properly, what if we move those IFF squadrons to the replacement training operational conversion units that are aligned with F-16, F-15, F-35 training? That is a little bit more expensive, but a heck of a lot more effective. And so there's a trade-off between efficiencies and effectiveness that we cannot lose sight of.
And among the competitors for the TX, given that the requirements were only released a few days ago, is there anything that you believe would give one of the competing programs an edge when it comes to how it will be appreciated in its final run by the end user?
Which is interesting because what we have done completely different with the TX is the relationship that we have reinitiated with the military-industrial complex. In light of some of the past acquisition missteps, the Darlene Druyan debacle that happened, we have finally turned the corner. We were making industry kind of grope in the dark at our requirements because the military was so hesitant to share any kind of requirements before in fear of a lawsuit, in fear of a protest. And in this case, we've been very, very transparent with the industry right off the bat. And the industry has really responded to it. And in that process, though, we were able to get feedback from industry of what was the art of the possible, what isn't, maybe even coming from a totally different viewpoint on things that are really helping us with the requirements document. And as you mentioned, on St. Patrick's Day, we released requirements for TX. And there were no surprises when it hit the street. As a matter of fact, it was probably a very pleasant surprise. And myself, my boss, General Rand at AETC, and also myself as the 19th Air Force Commander, what we're going to have to really watch out on is to make sure that those requirements don't suddenly creep. We want to keep those stable. We want to have industry be able to keep those stable. The more stable we can maintain the requirements, the better, quicker, and more effectively they will be able to go ahead and bring the product to the street.
I can only wish you the best of luck, General. Many thanks for being here.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.